See, now I'm going to tweet this out. And it's going to go, everyone's going to go crazy.
Here they go.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just introduce you.
Okay.
And also, I'm going to make you have to tell an awkward story.
Okay.
At some point.
I've got at least one of those.
Do you have them? Okay, good. Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorous Magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories and talk all about comedy. I'm very excited about today's guest, all the way from Kansas, Mia Mercado.
Yeah, hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Mia's a comedy writer, and you do some performing. Some event performing of reading.
Yeah, I do readings.
And you've been in New Yorker, Bustle, Belladonna, McSweeney's,
Yep.
Points and Case, Weekly Humorist. A huge list. Like, you have so many things on your resume. I was going through a lot of your articles, reading through a lot of stuff. It's so funny. You're so funny. Like, I've read your things as they come out. I was reading them, but then reading a bunch at one time is such an impressive feat to see how much stuff you have in your portfolio.
Oh, thanks.
You know, I'm like, is this already a book? All of this should already be a book.
I'm working on a
Are
book,
you?
actually. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about it.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things I read was the article you did in the New Yorker about, it was the groups. It was this.
A compiled list of collective nouns.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so creative.
Thank you.
You know, and I think the one thing that stuck out when I went through a lot of your stuff was it's such it seems like such a simplistic idea to start with. Like, the kernel of the idea is so funny, and then it snowballs into such funny results.
I mean,
from just one little idea. There's so much fun stuff that came out of, like, this list is so clever. So, how long have you been writing?
I went to school for creative writing.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I'm from Wisconsin originally. You can probably detect it when I say words like bag.
A little bit. Cheeseheads.
Yeah.
You're all cheeseheads there.
Cheeseheads, sausage, beer.
I used to have one of those cheese head hats.
Wow.
Have you ever seen? You've seen those before.
Have I seen them?
Yeah. I kept it for, someone gave it to me, and I kept it in my apartment in Brooklyn for such a long time, and I almost never, ever wore it. And it was so big, and it was made of foam. It's one of these big cheese head things that everybody in Wisconsin has. Yeah. And it was a nice gift, and then I finally got rid of it, just because it was just so big. It was like this big, ridiculous thing. I was like, I don't need this cheese head. Why do I have this? It's nice.
Yeah, unless you're going to a Packer game at Lambeau Field, which I've never done. There's no reason to have a cheese head.
Never.
It's just
have you worn a cheese head?
I don't think so.
They're big.
They're big. I've seen them. I have definitely touched one.
Yeah. They're like hard foam.
Yeah, they're not comfortable.
No.
They're not aesthetically pleasing.
They're made for the elements.
You know what? That's,
because you're not wearing that cheese head in Florida. You're wearing that in the winters of Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
It's cold here in New York. You brought the weather with you or something.
Yeah,
but you're not dressed for the weather.
Oh, I'm dressed plenty fine, mother.
You look like a New Yorker, though.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the best compliment that you can give somebody. That's
fancy coat.
Fancy coat.
You got the new
Look
hair.
At me, new hair. I'm blonde.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow, the best compliment you can give somebody that's born and bred in the Midwest is you do not look like you're from the Midwest. Sorry, Midwest.
Do you think that people being born in the Midwest, they have a comedic sensibility that's better than some of these West Coast, East Coast writers?
I feel like I'm obligated to say yes because that's myself.
I just feel like there's so many funny comedy people, whether it's writers or stand-up comics, that come out of the Midwest, and just maybe their viewpoint is different in a way where they can be a little bit more, not mainstream, but appealing to a vast audience.
Yeah.
You
maybe
know?
we're just not hardened by like having to sit and wait for the train. And we like have a slightly more affordable lifestyle.
Yeah.
We're more comfortable and life is more convenient, so we're not like hardened by the elements quite as much. So we're like, we can be funny and also like kind of happy.
Yeah, it's the happiness. That's what it is. It's the happiness early on.
Yeah.
You're not so jaded so quickly. That's a great point.
Yeah. I am curious, what would you consider the Midwest to be? Do you consider Kansas and Missouri the Midwest? I have this argument with my husband, Riley. because I'm from Wisconsin, and he's like, that's not the Midwest, that's the North. And I was like, that's not a...
I would
that's
accept.
not it, my
I would
friend.
say Wisconsin's even in the Midwest for me. Too.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I would I'm not going to call them flyover states because that's an insult.
I will call them that.
But I would
It's
call them
okay.
flyover states
Yeah.
just because that's where it happens.
Right.
I'll fly to Los Angeles. I fly over all these states. I wouldn't
yeah.
say Ohio is really the Midwest.
Well,
Yet.
what is it then?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess it is. It's so close
Would you
to
say that's
Pennsylvania.
okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously Pennsylvania's not Midwest.
We're isolating a lot of people here.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Pittsburgh is. I don't know.
I've never been.
I would say Philadelphia is not. I don't know.
Yeah,
We're drilling down too much
yeah.
into these into the districts.
Yeah. We're going to draw those lines right now.
So you went to college for creative writing.
I did. I majored in English, English creative writing, and then you had to choose a track, either poetry or fiction, and I picked fiction.
Good.
Because, because I was like, I mean,
What are you gonna do?
I mean, what am I going to do either way, really?
Exactly.
I was like, well, don't think I want to be a poet,
you're
but I
picking.
don't think I want to write, like, straight up fiction.
You're picking two paths, and both paths seem to end at a cliff.
Yeah, they were like, do you want to jump off this cliff and die, or this other cliff and die in a different way?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't until after college that I realized creative nonfiction was even a thing that I could be doing. I wrote a lot of very bad half poems, a lot of very bad short stories that will never see the light of day other than those creative writing 201 classes.
Well, you need to get there. I remember I went to Syracuse and I studied art, and I had
visual art.
I did visual. I did illustration.
Okay.
Was when I had to pick I had to pick a path within the art community. You can do
Illustration or poetry. Those are the only two.
Exactly. I took poetry. And I was so bad at it, but it was so much fun to take poetry because it wasn't a major. It was like a elective.
Yeah.
So I took it just as as a fun thing, and it was fun to learn how to do. As much as you can be taught how to do poetry,
right?
Because they give you the parameters, and you kind of it's almost like a Mad Libs where they're like, this is kind of how you have to do it, and then you kind of figure it out. And mine were always like silly and dumb, and like mysterious.
So you always kind of knew, like, I want something to be a little bit funny.
Everything always had to be a little bit funny with me. I never really took anything seriously.
Oh, I took
my
myself
entire
very
life.
seriously.
Really?
Yes, very much
As a youngster?
So. Yeah, I mean, honestly,
and
until,
then did you grow out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I still probably take myself a little bit too seriously, like in the privacy of my own brain, but I'm able to laugh at it. I mean, like when I'm being too self-serious, I'm able to recognize it and being like, "Oh, calm down. You're just a person."
You're just a person. But your writing is seriously funny.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Right? And would you take any of the ideas that you've done for the magazines and would you explore a longer version of any of them? Like, would you blow up any of them into a full book? Or more of a collection of all of them into a book?
I'm more a collection of the pieces that I've done into a book. So the book that I'm working on, do you want to get into that right
Absolutely.
now? Cool. So it's not officially announced yet, but that's okay.
We are unofficially announcing
exclusive.
this. Talkward.
A Talkward
First
exclusive.
big thing.
Here we go. Do you have music to cue up?
Yep. I'll push that. We'll add that in later.
Cool.
It's going to sound great.
Excellent. You can just do the bump and then just
It'll
that.
be
Put a lot of reverb on that.
It'll be a horrible horn section, like a
excellent. That's
sad trombone.
Oh, sad trombone. Yeah, so I signed with a literary agent back in March. We've been working on a proposal for a nonfiction humor book.
Great.
And we sold that proposal to Harper One.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a real deal place.
Yeah, it's a real place. I said it to my parents, and they were like, "We know what that means.
Even we've heard of that.
Even we know."
Do they have offices here in New York City?
Harper?
Yeah.
The editor that I'm working with, I think, is based out of San Francisco.
Okay.
I'm sure they have offices
Just pop
somewhere.
in.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up? You don't know me yet, but you will. Maybe. I don't know."
We signed a deal. That means
We
I'm
signed
allowed
a
to
deal.
have the free coffee on this floor if I want.
Just throw my
Give me a
coat
pass.
wherever.
Yeah.
So it's a collection of both personal essays and satirical or just like satirical.
Would it be
stories.
stuff that's already been published at all in magazines?
Yeah.
Can you take that stuff?
Yeah. So I've talked to Emma Allen at the New Yorker just to make sure, like, hey, is it legally okay if I take this? Will I have to pay you?
Are we good?
Are we good? Will we still be best friends forever in my head and heart if this happens? But yeah, so it's going to be a combination of both personal essays, which I haven't really done a lot out in the world. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to like start putting those out into
That's awesome.
the internet. Yeah. And then there'll also be some things that I've published online and some new satire pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the timeline? Like, how many pieces do you need to fill a book?
Yeah, so I'm working in word counts, which is very strange for me. So it's like 60,000-ish words. So what is that, like 300 pages? So it's like...
Okay, 300 pages.
Yeah, so it's between 30 and 35 pieces, which like a little more than half of those will be personal essays, and then the rest will be those satirical-ish kind of pieces that...
And you've picked out stuff that you already want to go and like, you're like, this is absolutely going in the book. This is absolutely going in the book.
Yeah, I've picked a few of my favorites that I think fit the theme of what the book is, and I'm going to try to include those.
Good. Well, I can't wait for all of the weekly humorist articles to go in the book. It's very exciting.
All of them, every single one.
I'm going to just personally just shove them into the book in the bookstores later. I'll print them out and be like, hey, did you miss this?
Just like this 8 by 11 stuck in the middle.
It'll be like a notebook.
It's an addendum.
A piece of like lined notebook paper.
Yeah.
Just shove them in the book. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
And do you know the title? Have you been rattling around with titles in your head?
Yeah. The working title is Weird But Normal.
Okay.
So all of the essays and stories will talk about the things about ourselves that we think are weird that are actually kind of normal if you would talk to anybody else, and the parts of culture that we take as normal that are actually really weird if you thought twice about them. So it's both about... so like these like inner things that we like think are uncomfortable and awkward, and also like the just examining culture in a way that.
So what are things that you like in a personal essay? If you're writing something, is it more about like everyday interactions that then you focus on?
It's both. So it's like going to be like big milestone things. I'm going to talk about getting married and how that's a weird thing and all of the weird rituals and like
tons.
Right? It's weird. Like bridal showers, that's strange.
And not the older we get, the older our humanity gets, I guess. Like as generationally we've moved from what traditional marriage was back when it was like you were sort of buying someone's daughter with like
like
goat,
dowries,
a dowry, all that kind of stuff.
And how much corn?
It modernized and it became more of just like a tradition, and it was less about that. And then I feel like we've even leaped from like the 40s, 50s type of marriage to now, where so many people get married and get divorced, and like the divorce ruins their life. They're like, well, why did we even get married? We could have just not gotten married. Because like the legal part of it, it's like the legal part of the getting married
is a very
seems very
part
interesting.
Of it. Yeah.
Like the whole part about people getting married because they're in love, that seems great. But then it's the whole like governmental part of getting married that seems very like, so how come all of that, like where did that come from?
Oh yeah, and that's stuff that like that's not on Pinterest.
Right.
That's not on like wedding blogs where they're like, so you're going to go to the courthouse and you're going to wait in line and somebody's going to like laugh at your name a little bit and ask you why you're changing the name the way that you are and why you're not like, there are so many things that, I still haven't changed my name. My husband and I are both changing our names.
You're doing a hyphen.
We're not doing a hyphen. So I'm still going to be me.
You're doing a mashup?
We're not doing a mashup. Could you imagine? Well, so my husband's last name is Taylor.
Okay.
And I'm half Asian, and if I walked around the world as Mia Taylor, I think that would confuse everybody. They'd be like, that doesn't match up. And
doesn't
also
compute.
Like, I do not feel like a Mia Taylor even a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're both keeping our respective last names, and then we're taking each other's last names as our middle names. So
all right.
Yeah. So I'll be. My full name is Amelia Lourdes, and then his last name Taylor, then Mercado.
Okay.
And then he's going to be Riley Mercado Taylor.
Okay.
My parents still don't understand it. They are addressing all of our mail as Mr. and Mrs. Riley Taylor.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Well,
I like your last name though.
Thank
he
you.
should take your last name.
Right?
It's better.
That also.
right?
It is. You said it.
Mercado? Come on.
Yeah, Mercado's a great last name.
It's a great last name.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks, generations of dads.
Where I grew up in suburban Maryland, there was a jeweler named Mercado Jewelers, and it was like the number one jewelry place, like locally in Maryland. So it was Mercado for me is like the luxury diamond dealer of Maryland.
Not related even a little bit.
No. It was like also it was like in a strip mall. Like it wasn't like a fancy place.
Maybe related.
So that sounds fun with all the names and the changing. And
yeah.
I mean, if you're actually going to change all the names, you have to go through so much like social security cards and
we'll see
driver's licenses.
When and if that happens.
Ugh, that sounds like such a headache.
Eventually. my name is still the same, so.
Yeah. What's the timeline on the book next year?
Yeah. Spring-ish 2020.
When you learned how to be a funny comedy writer, how did that happen? How did someone
That's a really great question. If I knew that, I would just be like, this XYZ. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I relied on comedy as a way to connect to people. I never thought I was funny. I never was like, that was never a thing that people are like, you're funny. I don't have a real answer other than like after college, I was like, what am I going to do with this creative writing degree? I literally Googled creative writing jobs. And
that's great.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. And I found Hallmark Cards, like the greeting card company.
Yeah.
So I interned with them for a summer and I worked with them for about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I worked on their humor card line. I started on like the very serious
And that's the
cards.
shoebox greetings.
Yes.
I remember shoebox greetings.
Yeah. I worked on those cards. I helped write them. I helped pick which jokes were funny enough to go on them.
Those are funny.
Yeah, there are very, very funny, talented people that work on those cards, both like writers and illustrators and all the way down the line of creative people.
Greeting cards is a huge business.
Literally a $1 billion business.
People
which is
buy them.
Bananas.
My mom goes in and just buys greeting cards for no reason.
Oh, she
has no one
business.
to sell. She has no one to give these to, but she will in the future. And growing up, and we still have it. There's like this small antique secretary desk, like the kind where it's like slanted already, and it kind of like has leather type things on it, and the whole thing lifts up, and it's storage, and the entire thing is packed to the brim with greeting cards.
Yeah.
And if you need a greeting card, go into this desk and rifle through it, and it's a variety of topics.
Yeah.
There's graduation, there's retirement, there's birthdays, there's tons of stuff.
St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day, there's a lot of birthday. There's a lot of insulting old women type, getting older.
Yeah.
Like there's so many dirty cards
that was
in there.
the bread and butter.
My mom loves them.
Yeah.
My mom has sisters, and they always send each other greeting cards.
That is
and they like keep them.
Yeah.
And they send each other this, like my mom had got 2 cards this Christmas that were like jokey type Hallmark cards from 2 different sisters, and they were the same card.
That's real cute.
Isn't that cute?
That's very cute. They know each other
They
super
do.
well. That is quite the Hallmark moment that they
It
experienced.
is.
Yeah, so I edited...
Do you still do any Hallmark writing?
Yeah, so I work with them just on a freelance basis. I left to freelance full-time. And I still work with them doing some of their social media stuff, like writing stuff that they have their artists turn into cartoons. I've done a little bit of their card work. But yeah, it's
fun how
a cool
much
company.
Like working in the magazine publishing business with writers like yourself, and then with a ton of cartoonists. Because we have a lot of cartoonists, and so many of them also are greeting card people. Like
really?
So many of the cartoonists sell it at all the shows. Like I know Scott Nickel, I know Bob Eckstein. They all do everything they draw is either in a magazine, it's in Mad, it's in the New Yorker, or it goes into their portfolio for greeting cards. And it's stationary shows and like that world. Like there's so much crossover with the written stuff and the art stuff, and it's nice. It's nice that it keeps on going.
Yeah, I mean Etsy that had a huge.
Speaking of Etsy, I went to your store on Etsy, Mia.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Mia Mercado on Etsy.
Wow, we're getting into it. So when I started freelancing full-time...
Oh, you had a great... Where is the product you had? Darn it. Where is it?
Oh, if I told you how to... I don't even really know
It's
how
a
to
mug with this... Yes, it's this mug.
The good girl... Can I swear on the podcast?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I was just making Sure. Good girl, bad bitch. So I drew that. That's my dog. So when I started freelancing full time, I had a slight panic attack and was like, what am I gonna do with all my time? Oh my gosh, I'm not in an office from 9 to 5. I don't know what I'm doing. So I just started a bunch of different stuff. Maybe I can use Photoshop.
Revenue streams.
Try. My Etsy shop isn't quite the revenue stream, but
it could be.
It could be, and it's fun. I mostly did it
you set this up, you put up one mug, and you're like, okay, and then nothing happens.
Here we go.
And then all of a sudden, one day you get an order for 1,000 of these mugs because one person
That's
buys.
the dream.
You know?
Yeah, every once at Christmas time is when the holiday season. I've had a couple people send that to their loved ones, so now my dog is in there.
So on one side, I'll describe this for the audience listening at home, and we'll put this on the site. But on one side of the mug is a adorable illustration of Mia's dog. What's the dog's name?
Her name is Ava.
Ava. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 illustrations of Ava, and in between the heads of the dog illustrations is a rainbow, and under the rainbow it says either good dog or bad bitch, depending on the side of the mug that you were looking at. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I do too. I'm glad that you like it.
Do you have any of these mugs at home?
I do, because I can get them sent to me discounted.
Nice.
I mostly made it to give to myself and friends as an easy gift.
And $18, that's good.
Thank you.
Got to make some money on the markup there.
Yeah, I just tried to...
Oh, we sell Weekly Humorous stuff in the Weekly Humorous shop. Go to weeklyhumorousshop.com.
Get that plug.
And there's silly t-shirts and mugs and just all kinds of wacky stuff. And, we pull from content from the site. But, you have to, we do free shipping. So a mug will be $15.50 for a mug. Or if it's a big mug, it's $18. Mm-hmm. But the shipping's $5. And I add the shipping into the price. So the shipping's pretty much free anyway.
Nice. Yeah.
But it's a flat rate shipping.
Yeah.
But you end up not making almost. You make $5.
Yeah. Oh, there's
so the market for this stuff is you're making. You have to sell so many T-shirts for it to make it. You're just how many of these T-shirts do I have to sell? 1,000?
Oh,
I'm not going to sell 1,000 T-shirts.
Yeah.
Ugh. What's the next thing I can try to make money off of? Just keep on doing everything. But that's fun. So it's clever and creative that you picked out so many fun things to do.
Oh, thanks.
And what was the first piece that you got published? Was it a New Yorker piece?
No, the very, very first piece. Well, so back in 2015, I had a piece published on the hairpin when that was still a thing.
Yep.
Which R.I.P. hairpin. I loved the hairpin. So that was the first humor piece that I got published out in the world before I was even maybe I'll do this as a real job thing. But when I started freelancing full time, the first piece that I got published was on bust.com, the magazine, but for the website only. And it was called Bath and Body Works is the suburban nonsense I crave. Because it is.
Yeah.
And it's just, that was a very, very exciting. It was after a very long lull of 0 acceptances, nobody getting back to me.
Yeah, how many rejections did you have to get before you got your first acceptance?
Oh, a lot. A lot of McSweeneys that are sorry, didn't quite hit for me. Not quite enough laughs. A lot. If I had a number, I don't know, 100, 2. I don't have an actual number for you, but
I love publishing new people. I love publishing people who are just starting and haven't gotten that yet. Yeah. It's so fulfilling to be able to be the place that gets to publish that first thing. Mm-hmm. It's so exciting. Yeah.
I feel part of I was submitting to a bunch of different places, but didn't really have an idea of what was out there, and I submitted to Belladonna pretty early into the launch of their website.
Oh, they're wonderful.
They're so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say enough good things about those editors. And they do a really wonderful thing where they're hey, even here are also a bunch of different places that you can submit to, Weekly Humorist and McSweeney's and just a bunch of different places where even if it's not a fit for us, here are places that might like it or are just venues for you to look into.
I send people to them also just because they give much better feedback. Because they're humor instructors. They're instructors. They know how to tell someone how to be funnier. I can't, I can't tell you how to be funnier. I just know that it's funny or it's not funny. And I'm this works, it doesn't work. But I can't say, I need you to make this funny. It's Make this funnier.
It's a very
like, what?
special, yeah, it's a special skill to
It
be
is.
able to have to be like, here's exactly how you can punch this up.
Yeah.
Here's what's working, here's what's not. I had to do a little bit of that as a greeting card editor, but it's like condensed down to literally like the front of a card and the inside of a card. So like trying to go through a whole, like,
yeah, the best I
600
can
word
do
piece.
is I can usually say, this is a funny idea, and then it gets real mean. And that's usually when I'm like, it doesn't work.
Too mean.
Because you're mean.
Yeah.
Like, stop being so cruel, I guess is the only
That's
good
feedback.
Yeah.
That's just good life advice. Don't be so mean.
Stop being so mean to people. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody. What's your, comedy influences? When I read a lot of the stuff that is really successful on McSweeney's or
Yeah.
The New Yorker, or I appreciate, or the first people that I thought that did it really well was, there was a collection that was published of Steve Martin's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was for The New Yorker and maybe New York Magazine, where he would just write these kind of short. It was like before writing for the internet existed, because there wasn't any, and it was kind of just like short, absurdist type articles, and they're so funny.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the standard that I always look to when I look at new stuff coming in. I'm like, is it funnier? Is it funny in this way?
Yeah.
And then if it is, then I'm like, great, and then I can take it. And if it's not, I'm like, well, it's something new and different. Okay, let's see if it works. But what do you use? Like, who was your influence?
Yeah, because I wasn't, like, again, I wasn't super, super into comedy, like, growing up, even into college. Like, a lot of the people that I look to as, like, my comedy icons are people that are currently popular.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot
because you
of-
can meet them.
I mean, hopefully, that would be the dream. But it's people like Megan Amram, Alexander Petrie, that are making it work on like a bunch of different platforms.
Yeah. Megan Amram's great.
Yeah, amazing.
And then also like Jesse Eisenberg's he publishes a ton of stuff in McSweeney's and The New Yorker, and he's so versatile in the way that he can do multimedia. Like, he's doing movies, but he also writes, and with Megan Amram, and she's doing a Good Place.
Yep.
The Good
The
Place.
Good Place,
I
yeah.
love that show. That show is so funny.
It's a good show.
But just like so creative. Would you want to do something more than writing?
In the future, definitely yes. I mean, it seems silly to be like, no thanks, pass.
Well,
Only
writing
this forever.
Writing can be, it's an isolated thing, but if you can be in control of all the content, it's great.
Yeah, the dream would be to be in control of all the content, of like to like write. The dream would be write a book, have it optioned. I mean, that's everybody's dream forever and always.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
'Cause
I'll
you can
just
be
do
done.
that, I think.
Yeah, just do that.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll just do that.
You should just do that. Just write it on the wall. This is my wall. I write all the stuff that I need to do.
It's your dream board.
And
Your
I wrote it on
vision
the
board?
wall. And it's been about a year since I launched this, and almost everything on that wall is happening.
It's a whiteboard with lots of blue dry erase marker.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That was like the day I launched this, I just wrote everything up there, and like bit by bit, every single little thing is happening.
Podcast. We're doing the podcast right now.
We're on the podcast, and she's pointing to the podcast thing I wrote on the wall a year ago.
Wow.
And now we're doing it.
That's
It's amazing.
That's very satisfying.
Yeah.
I'm a person who enjoys checking off things on a list.
I have lots of lists.
Yeah.
I'm a list person.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll write things that I already did just so I can check them off, and then I write more things.
That's how you got to start with those things.
You got to start with those things.
Yeah.
It's like, wake up. Okay, did that.
Write this list.
Write this list.
Working on it.
Done. Halfway there.
Yeah. But yeah, so comedy influences, I mean, I go through McSweeney's and Weekly Humorist and Belladonna and New Yorker, and a lot of the people that are currently publishing on there are people that I look up to.
Yeah.
Like people like Ryan Kantz. Just say her name 30 times. But yeah.
She's great.
Oh, she's amazing.
I think I'm going to finally get to meet her for the Satire and Humor Festival in March.
I'm hoping to be able to come out.
Are you
going to
come back?
I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm not. It's not like officially in the works, but yeah, hopefully.
Come back. Be on a panel.
I mean,
Read something at
that's
the
what I'm
humorous
hoping to
readings
do.
thing.
Yeah, they're still trying to like nail stuff down. So hopefully that's what happens. Yeah.
You'll be in.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll write it down on your dry erase board. And then
Write
maybe
it on
it'll
my
happen.
dream board, and we'll get my dream catcher and all my other weird superstitious things that I have in here. I have a monkey's
Speak it
foot.
into a crystal,
You got to
then
rub
we'll-
the monkey's foot. I have this weird, I don't know. This is like a chicken that's a
a little
stapler. I have my motivational sign.
Yeah, that's good. Just to remind yourself that you are doing a great fucking job.
That's right. I need to get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. So I need an awkward or cringeworthy story.
Yeah.
Mia. What do you have
in
the file?
What do you want? Something short? Do you want something long?
I don't know.
Well, okay, so we were talking earlier about...
Let's pretend you're telling a story in front of the Satire and Humor Festival, and there's 4,000 people in the auditorium. Because it's a big auditorium, guys.
I'll be like, thank you so much. I don't think I'm right for this. I love you all. Goodbye. That's what I would do. Do you want... I could tell a poop story.
Sure.
Do you feel like that at 11 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of my go-to story. So I'm in 4th grade. Picture me in 4th grade, heavy bangs, just the most bangs, mostly bangs.
You're mostly bangs.
Mostly bangs and just a lot of insecurity. So imagine that. And I'm with my dad at what will soon be the house that my family and I grew up in. We were moving in there, and I went with my dad. He was doing like a final look through of the house. They were about to move in with the previous owner. Don't know in hindsight why I was there with my dad at the time, but that doesn't sound like a thing that a 9-year-old would be like, yes, I would love to come to this last inspection with you, father. Excellent. So my dad is doing a walkthrough of the house. And we're going. It's a small like ranch house. It's not huge. Mm-hmm. And we're in the kitchen, and I get this feeling in my stomach that it's like, if I don't get to a bathroom right now, I'm going to poop my pants. It's going to happen in this new house that isn't currently ours. So I'm like, excuse me, and make my way to the bathroom, and get to the bathroom, and everything turns out excellent. No problem whatsoever, except there's no toilet paper because they're moving out. There's nothing. So 4th grade me is sitting there like, what am I going to do?
Problem solving.
Yeah, I'm a problem solver. Mm-hmm. I'm something of a Girl Scout. So I was like, what am I going to do? 9-year-old me is sitting on the toilet like, okay, my dad is outside with this stranger and I'm stuck here. So I did the very normal and cool thing of using my underwear to wipe myself.
Okay.
Which, like, everybody's done that at least once.
And then you have to discard it?
Yeah. So then, now what do you do?
Where are you going to put that?
Now what do you do?
Problem number 2.
Yeah, right?
On top of problem number 2.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay. So I've just created another problem for myself. Do I throw it in the trash where they are definitely going to find it?
Absolutely.
Do I try and flush it where that's going to cause another problem?
Much bigger problem.
I'm not going to be able to solve. That's a dead end.
Yeah.
That's a giveaway. So I like rifled through, like pants around my ankles, like I'm rifling through the cupboards. There's like a dental floss and like a loose like Ziploc baggie, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I did the very normal thing of putting my dirty underwear into the Ziploc baggie, sealing it up, and putting it under my shirt and hiding it.
Now you have to carry it around.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I will carry my shame with me as I've done my whole life. Here I go. And so I was like, excellent, cool, problem solved. Nobody will know and nobody will suspect that this weird lump under my shirt is my shitty underwear that I've put in a Ziploc bag.
Perfect answer.
So I like walk out and I'm like, nothing to see here, father and stranger. And we continue on our tour of this Midwest ranch style home that, again, not a big house. Don't know why I couldn't have been like, maybe I'll just wait the literal 5 minutes that it'll take for this tour to be done. But yeah, so continue on our tour, underwear in the Ziploc under my shirt, and we go outside, and they're like looking in the backyard. And there I see my salvation in the form of a wood pile. And as my dad and the other man are looking at a shed or whatever old men do, I don't know, I'm like, I'll just excuse myself to this wood pile. Oh, you know how 9-year-old girls, we love wood piles.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I head my way over there, I'm examining it, and quickly shove the Ziploc bag underneath the wood pile, never to be seen again. And I'm like, excellent, perfect. Nobody will know. Okay, let's cut to about 10 years later.
Wow.
You thought the story was done. Unfortunately, it's not. 10 years later, we have been living in this house for about 10 years. Oh, no, not 10 years, because then I would be like 19. It's 5 years. So I'm in like high school, late middle school. And my dad is like, you know what I should do today on this day? I should deconstruct the wood pile that has been in our backyard since we first moved in. And our whole family's like, yes, cool. That sounds like a normal thing to do. And as my dad is like, I don't know why he was, I think the wood was all rotten and had literally been sitting there for 5 years. So he's like taking the wood apart, and from the backyard, I hear my dad go, what? And we go outside, and he sees a Ziploc bag with soiled underwear in it, which looks like a crime scene. That looks horrifying.
Yeah.
And my family's like, what?
Is this evidence?
Yeah, like, should we not touch this? Should we, like, put gloves on? Our fingerprints? Oh, no. And then I thought that I wouldn't ever have to tell anybody, and oops, surprise.
And you had to tell everybody?
Well, I mean, now I am. But I was like, oh, don't worry. That's just from 5 years ago when I thought I was going to shit my pants when we were looking at the house. So
very normal explanation.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is like, you know, your shit is going to follow you everywhere. So don't try and hide it.
That's a great moral.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
You really wrapped that up at the end there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything comes back, you know?
Everything comes back. I guess part of the moral is like most of the problems were self-caused.
The moral of the story is just burn the evidence.
Yeah, the moral of the story is like hold it for about 5 minutes, Mia, and it will be fine.
Have you told that story before?
Not out loud. I've written about it. I'm
Okay.
going to write about it in the book, but no.
That's a good story to put in the book.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm
Me
excited
too.
about this book.
Me too.
I'm going to pre-order it.
Oh my gosh, when the link goes up, I will be
What's
promoting
the
that.
timeline on something like that? So you just kind of just finalized everything.
Yeah, finalized. I'm still in the process of like signing contracts and that official business.
It's exciting.
Yeah. But the manuscript is going to be due in early August.
Okay.
So I've got some time, but yeah.
You from now until like June to
Mm-hmm.
not do anything with it, and then you have July to panic.
Yeah,
And then
I would
do it.
if I didn't have these like intermittent dates of like
good.
20,000 words are due February 1st.
It's smart that they do that.
Yeah, it's also smart for myself because otherwise I'll just be procrastinating and be like,
Absolutely.
oh, like
Tons of
July, end of July, I've got 24 hours. Excellent.
Yeah, I'll really power through this weekend before it's due. Totally doable.
For sure.
That's how I am with like book club.
Yeah.
Because I'm in book club with Kaylin from the Belladonnas,
Yeah.
and everyone like reads the book, and everyone's really good. And then there's me, and I wait like one day before book club, and I just like speed read, and I'll be like speed reading the book, and I'll get the audio version of the book, and I'll have it on like 4 times fast.
Oh my
So it's like the
gosh.
chipmunks reading the book
Yeah.
on like Audible, and I'll be like listening to the book as I'm reading the book, just cramming the book into my head, so I can go and discuss the book like in 10 minutes.
I that's like why I couldn't do any kind of book club.
So
'cause-
irresponsible.
Well,
with
because
book
I would
club.
be like, I'm going to procrastinate this thing that I have elected to do.
Oh yeah.
I basically paid, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars for an English degree to not read a bunch of books. I think John Mulaney has a bit about how he's like, yeah, I just paid a bunch of money to not read
Yeah.
a lot of books.
I have a lot of books,
Yeah.
but now I'm told I can only keep 30 books. That's the
The Marie Kondo, the
Spark
KonMari.
Spark Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great show.
Have
you watched any of it?
I've watched a couple of them, and
I watched 2. Yeah, it is very calming.
Yeah, I almost cry every single time she welcomes the house.
She's so nice.
She's very nice and kind and calming.
It's fun
I
seeing
love
people
it.
that aren't in our American society on
Yeah.
television, and you see how other people act, and you're like, God, I wish we should be acting more like that.
You're like, wait, there are other cultures in the world?
Yeah, those other cultures seem to be a lot better than us right now.
Yeah, like, why are we garbage?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot of that. It's like, oh.
And she's so little, but
Yeah.
like proportionally, she looks normal. But then you see her against somebody else, and you're like, "Oh my God, she's a little tiny person."
These
but she's
giant
like,
towering
she's like
Americans.
4'10" or something. But she doesn't look 4'10" because every
Yeah.
part of her is like proportionally tiny. But then you see her next to
Yeah.
like an American person.
She
he's
had like 3
"Ah!"
she had 3 inches on herself that didn't spark joy. She just got rid of them.
She got rid of them.
Yeah.
But now I look at everything. I've been throwing away stuff. It did inspire me to throw away stuff. I definitely threw away stuff after I watched a little bit of it. Well,
It worked on you.
I've been throwing away stuff for years. I used to be such a hoarder.
Yeah.
As you can tell from my incredibly clean office that we're in. This is
honestly, I mean, my perception of clean is so, as long as everything has a place. I'm very much like, is it just like, I don't know, is everything like kind of in a line? That's like all.
We're getting there.
I'm not much of a like, everything has to be like out of sight.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of books? I feel like writer people have books.
I feel like that too. I am probably the least well-read writer, which is not a thing that I should admit.
I don't read my books. I just have them.
Yeah, I like don't read nearly as much as I should. Like yeah, that's where I should end the sentence.
Do you have a guilty pleasure of reading that you do?
I mean, I read a lot of articles. I read a lot of like, most of the reading that I do is like scrolling on my phone or scrolling online. Do you have a subscription to the New Yorker, or do you keep on getting X'd out when it's like? So I did, and then I like got into the physical New Yorker, and I was like, done with my subscription, because they kind of, I have now. Do they give you a free one? Oh no, I wish. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I wish. I part of me was like, maybe if you get in, they just like all of a sudden they appear on your doorstep. No, they don't. No, they don't. You have to go to Barnes and Noble and then buy them all. Yeah, like what? Don't you want to ask why I'm buying 4 of these? And they're like, no, I don't. I don't care. Don't care. It's like Barnes and Noble is nothing but authors. Yeah. They're like, okay, cool. Next. You were in the print edition of the New Yorker. Yeah. I think I saw which one. It was the one that was like, it showed what will food be like in the future? Yeah. Was that super exciting to be in the print edition? No, it was terrible and I hated it. Yeah, it was very exciting. How many issues did you buy? I think I bought 2. I bought 3, sent one to my family. I didn't tell my parents that I was in it, and I just sent them one, and I said, turn to this page, which was a fun, cool little, like, that's awesome. Cute thing. Yeah. Very cute. Yeah, so I ended up buying, like, 3, and then my husband... Only 3? Yeah. I had to limit they're expensive! They are expensive. No, just wait. Wait it out, and people start throwing them away. That's, right? Just, like, wait on people's doorsteps and, like, collect them. Like, I'm in this one. Like, in Brooklyn... people put like stacks of New Yorkers on their stoop steps. Yeah. Because waiting for people to because it's every week. People just throw it away. So I mean, I take my upstairs neighbors because she moved and she didn't update her address. That's brilliant. She's been getting the New Yorker for at least a year without it going to the correct address. Clearly she doesn't miss it too much. I just pick it up. There. I'm like, Christine, huh? Well, we know Christine doesn't live here anymore, so... I could be Christine. No one's going to notice this. Yeah. So I just take them. Yeah. Because then they just get pitched. And then also no one reads all of the New Yorker. I'm sure somebody does. I read the humor pieces, and I look at the cartoons, and then I'll read like one really long piece. Yeah, I mean, like Ronan Farrow piece or something, because theirs are so good. Gia Tolentino writes anything, I'll read it. Or the TV or movie reviews, I read those. Yeah, I kind of page through it. That's how I'm with most things. That's why I can't get through a book. Ugh, I shouldn't say these things out loud, but yeah, I consume way more like TV and movies than is. So, what are your favorite TV shows right now? There's a lot of good comedy stuff out right now. Yeah, love The Good Place. Mm-hmm. Excited for Broad City to come back. Mm-hmm. What else have I been watching? A big Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan. That's something that I've dabbled in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, it's funny. Get into it. Yeah. What did I really like? Well, there's some. I mean, like there's Hulu stuff that's good. Yeah, I always forget that. Yeah, Hulu's good. What was really interesting? Oh, I watched a documentary the other day. I'm not a huge, like, sitting around watching documentaries. Was it the Fire Festival? Yes! Of course it was. It came on. Oh. And did you see it? Heck, did I see it? Did I watch it immediately the second I saw it? It was so good. Yes. I was amazed. I was like, I was in, like, my home office, which is more like, screens like this, and I was doing work, and I had one screen that was just like Hulu, and it was running the documentary, so I was like halfway doing work and halfway paying attention, and it was so. I ended up doing no work. I ended up just like turning and just like sitting at my desk watching this on the. And I watched the entire thing, and it was so amazing. And it was so amazing that they had the guy. They had Billy McFarland is his name. They had him, and he was so honest answering questions, and he could tell that he didn't want to answer certain questions. Honest is very generous of how I would. He just avoided, but you could.
the way that they shot it, it was so obvious that he was crafting a response.
Yes.
That was legally correct, sort of.
Yes.
At the time. But
you
they
could
captured
see
that,
the
which was
legal
good.
wheels of
Yes.
his head turning every time. He was like, can't say that, can't say that. Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that I'm like, oh, there were dozens of people on the island where this festival was supposed to work that like just didn't get paid for working literal 18-hour days. Like that's poo-poo garbage.
And it was
However,
amazing. Yeah.
I just watching all of the the people at the high level and all the influencers that were like, oh no, this is terrible, is very satisfying.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying to see very, very wealthy people
and they like
in
locked
bad
them.
situations.
And when they had, everyone came to this. If people are listening, they don't know. This is the Fire Festival. The Fire Festival,
yes.
which was a big music festival that was touted as like the bigger than Coachella, and it's going to be the most amazing experience in the whole world. And it was
Ja Rule was going to be a part of it.
Ja Rule was a part of it. It was on this island in the Bahamas, and there was going to be like the biggest deal, and it was super luxury, and people paid tons and tons of money in advance for these tickets, and then in the end, they actually never set it up correctly, and the whole thing ended up being almost like a scam where they sold the tickets, they didn't actually follow through with where they tried at the last minute to do something that was terrible, and everything was misadvertised, and everyone showed up, and nothing was set up, and they immediately tried to leave, and then they couldn't even leave.
No, they were stuck in an airport.
And they got basically they padlocked them into an airport because they weren't allowed to go on the runway.
Bonkers.
So they took all these people, they locked them in an airport with like a chain and a lock.
Yep.
And they've made 2 documentaries. So the
They
people
did.
at Fuck Jerry, which was the marketing company,
Yep.
who were on this lawsuit, made their own documentary, which I'm sure spins them in a much better way.
I think it comes out today. I'm probably going to go home and
I want to watch that.
it, yeah.
I need to watch to compare because the guy who was the marketing guy
Yep.
on the Fuck Jerry team did speak on the Hulu one.
Yes.
And he was really good. I thought he was very good.
It was very interesting to hear.
He was very honest.
I worked at a marketing agency for a hot second, and hearing people talk about stopping the scroll, stopping the end, how are we going to stop the endless scroll? Sent shockwaves into my body of oh no, I'm re-traumatized from the 2 seconds I spent in advertising.
How to get people to stop scrolling?
Oh my gosh,
because everyone looks exactly the same. It's all the same kind of pictures.
Yeah, it was fascinating. It's worth the 90 minutes or whatever that it is.
They did a great job marketing the festival. They just didn't do the part where they
actually
executed
had a
the festival.
Yeah,
right. That part they didn't do.
This is going to be cool. Yeah. Unfortunately, just montages of boats does not a festival make.
Didn't work. And then they're come to Pig Island, and everyone's like, oh, these pigs are adorable, but the pigs are biting you.
Yeah. It's almost like they're wild animals.
It's almost like you should
They have teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a mess. And then I loved the part that I loved the whole documentary is that one man who saw through it.
Yeah.
Who actually kind of poked a hole in everything. And,
Yep.
And he was hilarious. He was following the whole thing. He's like, this whole thing's a fraud.
Yep.
And he was on Twitter telling everybody that this was
the
a
guy
fraud.
that set up the fire fraud.
And then
account.
he took the map of where the festival was, and he was like, this is the parking lot of Sandals.
Just on every
And he was like,
level.
this is the parking lot of Sandals where the event is. And it was.
Have you ever been to a Sandals resort?
I have not.
I have, and it's bonkers. Went to was it Sandals? It was something like a Sandals resort in Jamaica.
Okay.
And
an all-inclusive.
Yeah. I went for my boyfriend at the time's, his brother was getting married at the resort, and they were like, let's just do a getaway and all-inclusive. It is just buck wild. The different, the difference in you're at this all-inclusive, very luxurious, people are literally waiting on you hand and foot. And right outside the perimeters, I mean, there's just, it's poverty, and it's, I mean, the cultural disparity, the wealth disparity, just feels disgusting. And also I mean, the way that they're how are we going to entertain all of these white Americans is also hilarious. How they're how are we going to get these white people from America to enjoy themselves? And it's with alcohol mostly.
Yeah, lots of alcohol.
Lots and lots of alcohol.
Lots and lots of alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been. I went to a semi all-inclusive, but it wasn't like a Sandals. It was at Antigua, which is a nice island in it's the British Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
And their entire economy is vacation people. But it was called Coco's Coco's, yeah, and it was like 10 bungalows on like this tiny little beach.
Yeah.
But it was kind of all inclusive, but it was also kind of like it wasn't separated. That was the difference, where it wasn't
that is how it should be.
Yeah,
They're
it wasn't separated.
No.
It was more like I knew the people, like it was kind of junky, but like in a classy, fun way.
Yep.
So like you were kind of immersed in it. It was interesting.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, it was
like,
more
if
fun.
If you're going to go sit in this cabana, your view should be of the ocean and also of like, just like the actual place where you're staying. The actual island,
place.
The actual country where you are
So
vacationing.
Antigua and Barbuda are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous places if they're listening.
If the entirety
if Captain Greg is listening from the Barbuda Express, I had a great time. Really nice.
Yeah.
Everybody threw up on the Barbuda Express.
That's how you know.
Because it was a ferry that took you from one island to the other, and it was a tiny ferry boat, and it did this the entire time. It was boom, boom. It was like these horrible, and everybody started getting seasick. And everybody but me on this boat was throwing up.
Yeah.
And we got to Barbuda, which is like the sister island, but it's not developed, and everybody kind of explores, and it's nice. And everyone's throwing up, and they were the crew is helping the people and giving them Dramamine. And I was like, everyone's sick. Is this normal? And the guy goes, yeah, this happens every trip. I go, well, why don't you tell people? He goes, well, then they would never take the boat.
Funny. That's so funny. They have the Dramamine ready to go. Yeah. They have the buckets.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they're expecting it. They're like, here's some, barf bags.
That's excellent.
It was fun. Gosh. Oh, the islands. So what are you working on right now? Like, how do you start the ideas for the different articles that you're going to submit to the New Yorker and Belladonna and McSweeney's? Do you have them, like, started? Have you started any ideas? Do you start with a headline? Like, what's your writing process for the people listening at home who are aspiring writers and respect and love your work?
It varies depending on what I'm doing. So right now, it's all book all the time. But I
might you take a break from submitting to magazines and stuff while the book process is happening?
Will not, because that is a productive way to procrastinate.
Yeah.
And so I will be like, you know what I could do? Write something else aside from instead of this thing that I should be writing.
Yeah.
A lot of my ideas, if I get in a rut, what I'll do is do the very embarrassing thing of go back through my own Twitter feed, which is not a thing I feel like that's very masturbatory. I'm like, what? How have I ever been funny? Should I see how funny I've been on my Twitter?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll go through my Twitter feed and see if there's anything that I'm like, can I expand this into something else? Was there a seed of something that could turn into something else? And I have a document of just like lines of ideas, either like a headline or just like a premise that I'm like, this is kind of funny. I also on my phone have like a running document of like one night my husband said, what if I answered the phone and just went, who? Like what if who was the response that people gave instead of hello? Which is very funny. And
which
I'm like,
could be.
Yeah. So I wrote that on my phone, and I ended up putting that in a joke that I like was like, okay, well, what are other things that like weird responses to something that is either uncomfortable or whatever. Ended up turning that into a piece for the New Yorker, but it varies. Sometimes if I'm stuck, I tried not to read funny stuff that other people have written.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm like, I'm not funny, and I will never be funny, and I never have been funny. So I'll read.
Or do you fall into a trap of that's too similar to that other funny thing I just read?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I do my research of like if I have an idea, I want to make sure that there isn't something that already exists that is
just Google.
Yeah, I just Google to see like has somebody like done this idea better and like more succinctly. And unfortunately, the answer is yes. A lot of the time, there are a lot of ideas out there. Already. Yeah. But yeah, if I'm stuck, what I try and do is read or watch or listen to like just not funny stuff at all, and try and either just like clear my brain entirely or like find the things that are funny in those not funny things. Just like, in the same way that people mine their everyday life for like, what's this like very normal ritual that we all partake in that if you think about it twice is like, oh, that's weird or that's funny or that's strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of like looking at not funny things and trying to figure out what would make it funny or what is funny about it.
How can I turn this a little bit and just like by just a little bit of the dial, the whole thing's hilarious now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of my process is moving from coffee shop to coffee shop and pretending to work.
Is the worst thing also when people ask you how to be funny as a comedy writer?
You know,
people are always like, tell me a joke, make me laugh, tell me something funny. And you're
I rarely fall into the like, so just tell me a funny joke. Because I don't do a lot of comedy performance, so people aren't like, oh, you can be funny right now on the spot. But yeah, I've had people like email or ask me in person like, oh, could you like, how would you make this funny? I don't know. If I had that answer.
Add an umlaut.
Yes, honestly, that does make everything funnier.
It does. Everything has to say oot.
Yeah, put a little umlaut over something. Make the text really tiny. Say it in a funny voice. An oops surprise is funny. I wish I had like a really good answer for when people were
all
like,
caps.
Funny. Yeah.
Put it in all caps.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Fortunately don't have too many people asking me that on a regular basis.
What do you do when you're not writing comedy? Do you have other hobbies?
Yeah.
Like what?
I enjoy cooking.
Oh, cool. Me too. I love cooking.
Yeah. I've been like, that is another like productive procrastination. Like, what can I do that will take my mind off of something? And
what's your favorite thing to cook?
Anything that involves chopping vegetables. That is therapy to me.
With the big knife?
I love it. Yes. Give me a big knife and a cutting board and like a bunch of onions.
Do it real fast?
Heck yeah. No, not real fast.
Yeah. Well, those people that go super fast.
I
find
I'm
that
trying
scary.
To relax. Yeah, no, not just like hitting. No.
Like on the Top Chefs.
No. Yeah, I'm not trying to be Top Chef.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a chili.
Do you like making chili?
I have. That was just the first. I like making soups. I'm very into soups.
It's soup's weather.
It is soup's weather, and I got an immersion blender, which is very satisfying.
I love my immersion blender.
It's a very satisfying kitchen appliance, which makes me sound 1,000 years old to say.
No, it's great. You can do like butternut squash stuff, and you can do stuff with like white beans, or you can make a puree. I love making the purees.
Anything.
Yeah.
So cooking.
Cauliflower mash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I enjoy cooking. With kind of everything, I span between loving it and then being like, I hate this and I never want to do it again. So when
it's a fine line.
It's a very, very delicate line. I enjoy music. I play, I dabble in guitar and ukulele.
You play?
A tiny, tiny bit, very amateurly. But yeah, I have a dog, so I just stare at her.
You have the dog on the mug.
She's a very cute dog. So I just, my hobby is mostly just staring at her.
What in your work environment is you work from home?
Yeah.
But it's mostly from coffee shops? Or do you not get stuff done at home because you get distracted?
It depends. It depends on what I'm doing. If it's something that's very which side of the brain is the smart side? Which side of the brain is the
not
one
sure.
that's like logic and reason? If it's a very
I think right side of the brain.
Sure, we'll say that. Whichever one isn't the creative artsy side.
Right.
If it's very just get something answer emails, do a very boring thing, I can do that at home. But if it's anything creative, I need to go to 100 different places.
And do you have to have headphones on? Do you isolate yourself when you're being creative? Do you put on music? Do you put on jazz or something? I do classical music.
That's smart.
Where I don't want to listen to the music.
Yes.
I just want something to fill in the gap of the silence.
Yeah.
Classical music is great. It just kind of flows together.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to something and it's 90s rock, I'm way too into it. I don't get any work done. I'm yes.
If it has any words in it, I can't listen to anything that has words in it. Otherwise, my brain is oh, those are words that I should also use right now as I'm writing. I listen to the Jazz Vibes playlist on Spotify.
Nice.
Which is R&B, hip hop, jazz, all very just moody.
It's kind of like elevator jazz almost sometimes.
Yeah, it's cool, chill elevator jazz. A kind of bonkers thing that I'll do is I'll sit at a coffee shop. Sometimes I'll just put my headphones on and not listen to anything and just have muffled noise in the background. But if there's not enough background noise, I'll go to Coffeetivity, which plays ambient coffee shop noises where it's clink clank and you can just hear people talking but you can't understand what they're saying. And I'll listen to that while I'm at a coffee shop. So I have double ambient noise.
So it's background noise of a cafeteria while
or
you're
like a
sitting
coffee shop, or like
at a coffee shop.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's psychotic.
I like it.
It's kind of bananas, but
It is.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have that playing when I'm at home too, so I feel like I've socialized for the day. Like, but
I feel like I left the house because I'm
Yeah.
listening to sounds from outside of the house.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. When you write something, how long does it take you?
It depends. So like the pieces that I'm proudest of, it's varied. Like there's some that I wrote literally in an hour. There's some that I worked on for 6 months and like kept going in and out of. But on average, I'll spend like a day on it, like a good few hours on it. And then I'll usually have my husband Riley read it because he has a good eye for he has a good like comedy sensibility. But that's not a thing that he does all day. So it's nice to have somebody that hasn't just been like looking and reading funny stuff all day, read it and be like, oh, that's not funny, or like, yeah, that is working. And then usually like the next morning I'll try and submit it. So it's like, I try and do stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I try not to sit on stuff too long.
That's nice that,
Yeah.
that the husband is
Yeah.
an active participant in like your process.
Oh, he loves it.
Yeah.
He is a tall, smiley white man that is just begging for people to ask him his opinion on things.
Well, he must have a good comedy sensibility
He does.
too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you make him laugh, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, he's legally obligated to say that now.
He is, by government.
Yeah.
And you're on Twitter a lot, so we'll get your Twitter out there.
My Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to follow you on Twitter. You're is it at Mia Market?
It is at Mia Market. Mia Mercado was already taken by, I think, an Italian store. Because Mia...
Or maybe it's the jewelry store in Severna Park, Maryland.
Honestly, it might be. Coming from my brand. My strip mall jewelry brand.
So when you have something new, you tweet it out. So people should follow
Yeah.
you at Mia Market.
Yep.
And hopefully you'll be back for the Humor and Satire Festival.
Hopefully, yeah.
Which is going to be in March. What days are that? I need to tell people to come to that.
I think it's
Hold
the
on.
22nd through the 24th
I think you're right.
of March.
In New York City, go to, is it the Humor and Satire Festival or the Satire and Humor Festival? Now I'm getting it mixed up.
I don't know, but they secured some URL that was very impressive that it hadn't been taken. It was like Satire and Humor.
These are things that I should have had prepared
You're
for
fine.
the show because I'm a media sponsor.
That's going to be a very
It's the Satire
cool-
and Humor Festival, March 22nd through 24th in New York City. Tickets on sale now. Go to satireandhumor.com for more information.
That URL, that's so impressive.
Yeah, it's great.
I once got an email from somebody whose email was fajita@gmail.com. I probably shouldn't say someone's email address, but their email was just fajita. That's
And
so insane.
Do they work in the fajita industry?
No, I think they just like fajitas. And they got that. I'm easily impressed by people that are
But I doubt people are going to be emailing them to give them fajitas. If anything, they're going to be emailing them to get fajitas. So
maybe it's
they're going to be
I guess
fajita negative soon because they're going to keep on giving up
negative
fajitas.
fajitas.
That's not good.
I take back everything that I said there.
It's Mia Mercado. Please visit her online at miamercado.com.
Yes.
And read all of her articles. They're all listed there from the New Yorker, Belladonna, McSweeney's, and elsewhere. I'm Marty Dunnix. This is Talkward. Thanks for listening. Visit us online at weeklyhumorist.com. And come on out to the Guaranteed Delivery comedy shows every month. Go to guaranteeddelivery.tv. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming in, Mia. This is so delightful.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. We'll see you next time. Bye. That was fun.
Yay! That was lovely. Was that an hour?
16